Welcome back to the Lyvv Podcast. It's just me today. Although I'm not with my acolyte Bella, I'm here with very, very, very special guests that are dear to me, to my story, and I cannot wait for you to know more about them. So I'm gonna let them introduce themselves. Good.
Hi, my name is Leaness, and I'm the Managing Director of the African Women Entrepreneurship Cooperative, or AWEC as we like to call it.
Hi, I'm Ruth Martinez Lago. I'm the AWEC Alumni Advisory Board
You got it.
chair, and I am a cohort 4 alumna from Namibia. I co-own a business called Yalago Food Assurance Consultants.
Okay.
Yes.
Lovely. And you've been in business for how many years now?
This is going to be our 8th year in business.
Wow.
So April is actually our anniversary year.
Congratulations on that. That's
you,
amazing. That's amazing.
Yes.
So today is a special episode because we want to highlight AWEC. In case you don't know what AWEC is the African Women Entrepreneurship Cooperative. And they've been doing great work. Obviously, I've done it. First card, that's already like 8 years ago. That's amazing, 8 years ago. And it's been amazing. The journey has been when I look back at it, I'm like, wow. She likes to say I took a chance on AWEC, but they also took a chance on me because when I applied, Lyvv Cosmetics was only 2 years old. And although, of course, I was a corporate girly, I was always looking for something new, you always, look for something that can, increase your knowledge. You can never know enough. My dad always says, you always have to learn, until you die, you have to learn, you keep learning. It's a continuous journey, right?
Lifelong learning.
Lifelong journey. And so when I saw it, I was like, okay, this could be good, to just get myself better in this new, life.
I mean, we must have done something right because you applied when nothing existed, right? I mean, it was an idea. It was we put out the call for the first cohort before the program had even fully been designed. Yeah. So you did take a risk on us.
Did you say that you were the boss? Did you say she's the boss?
I can tell the inside story about the backstory.
She's the big boss of the whole thing, guys. Don't believe the yellow dress and all of that. She was like, oh, do you think yellow dress will do? I said, what do you mean?
That's for our brand colors, right?
No, we all about colors, we all about colors and diversity and, just be creative, be yourself, basically. That's what we are all about, be yourself in, whoever you are, come as yourself. Yeah. And so, don't please, elaborate more, tell everybody.
Yeah, what is this thing?
Yeah, please.
So we started AWEC 8 years ago now. Victorine was part of our first cohort. And I like to describe it as a community of women, a sisterhood. And it's a year-long fellowship. It's a training program for women who have started businesses. And what's unique about AWEC, I think, is that it's focused on experiential learning. So a lot of times when you're studying business, when you're learning about how to run a business, you're learning in a theoretical way. You're learning from case studies of other businesses. Whereas at AWEC, we like to have you use your own business as a case study. And so each month, you learn about a new functional topic, and then you immediately apply it to your own business by doing an assignment. And so you bring it all together by having basically this toolkit at the end of ways that you have thought to grow your business. And so what I love is that you have people like Victorine who have a business background, but can still come and learn because it's being presented in a different way. Right, and so the other benefit, I think the biggest benefit in my perspective is the community. And so we take 200 women each year from across the continent. And so you're looking Namibia, Ghana, right? I mean, we've had almost every single country represented, I think 53 or 54. And so you have this opportunity to connect with women who are running either similar businesses in different countries or different businesses in the same country. And so you get to learn from what they're doing and build this support network of people who understand the struggle of running a business, of managing your family, of all of those different pieces.
I think that's the genius part of the whole thing, right? Because me as a Senegalese being in Ghana, you want to expand your business, and how the best way to do it is connections.
Yes.
How do you get to those connections? And it's by doing this kind of programs that facilitate that. I'm able today, I have many stories where I partner with people from Ghana, from Malawi, from across the continent thanks to the program. And so I think it's amazing, you guys, to have incorporated that element to the program.
And I think it's really about building authentic relationships. And I think that's something that is challenging to do, especially in this day and age of social media where people follow each other on different platforms, people share this support, but it's not real, right? It's not tangible. You have all of these followers, but you don't necessarily have these real connections. And so we spend a lot of time and energy thinking about ways to get people to connect authentically and to bring their authentic selves. So you might see this very successful image on LinkedIn, but then you actually know the person's story behind it, and you realize that, oh, I can get to that place too, right? I mean, I might be struggling, but they struggled as well, even if you don't see it in this polished image that they present.
Absolutely. Please, Ruth, tell us about your experience. How did you the first time you heard about AWEC, where was it? How was it? And why did you decide to apply for the program?
Okay, so Namibia, we're obviously a very small population, so meaning even our
What's
entrepreneurs.
What's the population of Namibia again?
We just recently made 3 million.
Wow.
Congrats on that. And it's still more than Botswana, right?
So great. So there was a fellow sister that we're part of a different program, and she forwarded that to me. And I'm like, what is this? It's like, oh, it's another program. Let's apply and we can learn a lot. It's a 12-month program. And then at that stage, my business was around 4 years old. So my partner and I said, okay, let's apply. Let's try our luck and see if we can both get in.
Yeah.
And we did, surprisingly. I don't know how that happened.
She also got both.
I will say, this is like, I'm going to be honest here, it kind of slipped through the cracks. We now have a rule in place where it can't be both people from the same company. It's lovely that you get to. Well, so the reason why we do that is because we have 2,500 to 3,000 applications for 200 slots each year. And so you both benefited, but you could have benefited and shared your knowledge with her. So I actually love that you're here, Ruth, because you're literally the case study for why. We like all of a sudden, it probably took us a few months and somebody was like, I think there are 2 people from the same company in the cohort, but you were both amazing, right? I mean, you both made it into the top 200.
Our applications both stood out, and I read hers, and we told the same story, but in our own way.
Yes. You guys are blessed.
Yeah, so that's how we managed to get in, and I really, really enjoyed it. Okay, she finished, she completed and everything, but I found myself drawn to AWEC because of the connections that I made within the program, and because I really, really appreciate connections, and especially that they're from different countries. I would love to learn what they do. Although they're not in my business, I would like to know how they handle, say,
like situations that we all share, right?
Exactly.
In running a business.
And learning from each other, and
cultural differences.
And the cultural
like how the consumer is different from Ghana to Namibia to Kenya.
Yes, and in a way, I don't know, within that, I found myself also mentoring some of my
peers.
Yes, some of my peers, because I've always been that person. I always want to help, and I've had all this help inside of me, and I didn't know. It was like, okay, I help those within my industry, but this is a way for me to extend, my knowledge, my experience,
to share more
with others. So it's really a rewarding program, and that's why I continued with AWEC. And
so tell us more about like the after AWEC, right? So it was amazing. You learned all of that. And what was in your mind after AWEC? You always wanted to be more involved even after the program, or how did it happen?
Yes, so I wanted to be more involved and bring in especially Namibians into the program, because we tend to be really afraid to join programs that are outside of what we know.
It's the cultural piece, right? I mean, it's like a much more reserved culture.
So it's like, okay, so if Victorine is doing it and I know Victorine, I will do it. But like if Dawn, that I completely have no idea who she is, I'm skeptical. Like, who is Dawn? Is this a scam? What is happening here?
That's why we did well with Ghana and Nigeria in the early years, right? You were all much more willing to take a chance.
So it's like, they are really hungry for opportunities. Namibians are hungry for opportunities. However, you have to sort of sell it to them. So, and that's why I chose to be this person to sell AWEC to Namibia. And every year when it goes, I'm selling it. It was like, this AWEC, do this. So I'm known as Ruth AWEC.
The thing is, Ruth also sells Namibia to everyone in AWEC. And so I think within AWEC, she's Namibia Ruth. So she has that dual ambassador role because she has introduced so many people within the cohort to Namibia. And I think she's, really introduced people to the idea of it both as a travel destination, but also as a place to potentially do business, which is a really exciting thing that happens.
Yes. You are doing an amazing job. They should give you like a medal or something.
They made me board of the alumni. The alumni board, the chairperson of the alumni board. Yes.
And really if I can deserve it. Like everybody knows her.
So if I can speak more about the alumni board, what we do. So I would call it it's the afterlife after the AWEC main program. So that's the program that's after. It's not really a structured program, but it brings all the alums together who have completed the program. You don't necessarily have to attain the points to join the alumni, but as soon as you've gone through the program, you are part of the
It's like being an alumni of a university, right? Where it's this idea, it's this affiliation that you have, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you engage in the same way, right? You go to university, you go to classes. When you're done with university, it's not like you're looking to continue going to classes, but you have that connection, and you might meet somebody who was a different year at university, and it's that stamp of approval, right? It's that connection of, we have this shared thing. And I think that's the beauty of AWEC also, where you've had that experience where you've connected with people across different cohorts who you didn't know otherwise, but they had that AWEC stamp of approval, and we've had this shared experience, this shared journey. We have a similar vocabulary of the way that we talk about business growth.
My story is quite interesting because I'm from Senegal, happened to be in Ghana. When I applied, was I in Ghana? Yeah, I was in Ghana. I was in Ghana. And so, even in Ghana, I didn't know all of the people. From my cohort, yes, but then the other cohorts, I did not follow. Because I had the opportunity to come back to AWEC to do other things. Everything. She would tell me, "Victorine, do you want to do it?"
We call it voluntold. Instead of volunteering, you get voluntold to do something.
I'm always willing to do anything. So I said, let's do it, dog. Yes. And so after 2000, I think, what is the next thing I did?
It was cohort 3, because that's how you met Christabel.
Right. So
I had to do a pricing workshop.
Yep. And that was like in the middle of what? COVID.
It was COVID. It was virtual.
COVID, yeah. Wow. Like I did a master class on pricing in business, and that went so well. It exceeded my expectations, and that's how I got to know Christabel, who's Ghanaian, who lives here. I never met her.
She messaged her in the Zoom chat and was like, "We should connect."
She messages me. She's like, "Oh my God, you do this." She's also in the beauty industry, and turns out her husband knows my husband, and she knows my husband. She at some point she used to live in the same city as my husband, like when they were younger.
Small world.
And I've never met this girl, never heard her name, and here she is in the same industry. And after I think it took us 1 year, and so we worked with her to produce this line. Yeah.
A totally new product line.
A product line that is new, because before the skincare, we were doing lipsticks, like makeup.
Yes.
And so when COVID hits, we are thinking about, skincare, because that's when people started.
On camera.
Yeah, on camera. You are sitting in your room. You cannot go to the salon. You cannot go and do any treatment. And so skincare started booming. And so I was like, okay. And I was pregnant with my 3rd child. I've never had any problems with my skin. And I remember I went to so many dermatologists, and I spent so much money on this face.
Every pregnancy is different.
And I never had those issues. And so I'm
the 3rd child. It's always the 3rd child.
I'm like, what is happening to me? Why? And so I'm like, okay, why am I spending all this money for what? I can actually make products for me and people who look like me, and why not? And so I started thinking about it, and then along the way, Christabel was there. I'm like, you try to connect the dots. A situation it never happens randomly in life. I believe it's there for a reason, and so at some point it connects. You connect the dot, and then it happens. And so at that time, she manufactures, And so she's the one, who did all the testing, formulations, and manufactured the product. At that time, we came up with 2. It was a cleanser and the serum. And it didn't even look like this. Remember how? Yeah. So every year we changed every year we try to improve the packaging. And so, we started the line with her. She had that side of the business. And we did that for 3 years. It's only like late last year, that we, have our own manufacturing facility now. And it's through AWEC that I found her.
Yes. It's the beauty of saying yes to opportunities, right? And I think that's one of the things that I hope people take away is that you're going to be put in all these situations where you don't know what the reason is, right? And, there's so many moments, I think, within the AWEC program where you're in groups with people that you've never worked with before, who maybe run completely different businesses, who have completely different cultural backgrounds, and some of it tests you, right? I mean, there are personalities where you're like, this is hard, but you get something out of it, and you never know who's going to make a connection on your behalf. And I think one of the things I love about you, and why I feel like, I know you are going to continue to have this success, is because you say yes. And it's the same with you, Ruth, right? Where you're putting yourself in this situation, you're doing things for other people, and you put that out in the world, and it comes back to you. And I think that's like the idea behind a cooperative, right?
Altruism.
Yes.
Altruism.
And not
very high.
It's actually rare. It's not a lot of people don't have it. It seems very easy, but it's not.
It's not. There's a certain level of selflessness that it comes with. Yes.
She always comes to me with crazy ideas, telling me to do a whole masterclass online to how many people on pricing, which is the hardest in any business. So it challenged me, even for me, to just get out of my comfort zone and, come up with this thing. And at the end of the day,
it was brilliant.
I'm happy.
And
I'm happy
this is the thing, you build your confidence when you do those things too, because you realize that one of the things that I love about the diversity of the community is that you realize you have skills that you take for granted, right? You know how to do certain things because you've built this expertise, and you just think everybody knows how to do it. And then all of a sudden you get around other people and you're like, oh, I'm really good at this thing. And I can, to your point, mentor other people. And then you have other people who can teach you things as well. And so I think there's this really beautiful peer-to-peer piece. And similar to this idea of it's this kind of predetermined network, right? That if you connect with somebody from AWEC, they're a certain type of good person. I think it's because you have to have this kind of altruistic side to want to be part of a cooperative where you're learning peer-to-peer. Because if you think you're better than everybody else, if you don't want to share your knowledge with people, then you're not going to enjoy an experience like this. And so there's some self-selecting element where the people that choose to apply to AWEC are the ones who care about that, who want to connect and learn and share with other people. And so I think that's a really nice piece of coming into a community, is you kind of know that most people have that same mindset that you do.
And the interesting part is until you actually do it, you can never know that you are capable of doing it. That's why it's good to get out of your comfort zone. Otherwise, you never know that you can do a masterclass, that you can deliver a keynote address, that you can, you have to do that.
But I would like to credit AWEC also for creating that environment, because we won't be able to be this selfless without that environment. But if it was a really toxic organization, I don't think we'll be able to volunteer and network the way we network. Even after the program. I mean, what you're talking about now with the mentorship, and that's what we do, that as part of the alumni, the network. Activities, so the afterlife of AWEC.
Yeah, they've designed this beautiful program within the alumni network where the alums volunteer to mentor each other on different things. And so even after they've completed the program, they're sharing different skill sets. So maybe if you're not somebody that wants to be up on stage delivering a masterclass, you can mentor somebody one-on-one. And so there's a way for everyone to find something that works for them.
Yeah. That's amazing. And so tell us about what's happening this week. Guys, we are not talking
exciting, I just flew out here to be on the podcast.
Why are they in town? They are here for something. And so, don't tell us more about what's happening.
Yeah, so we're here for our General Assembly, and this is our one big in-person event each year. And so we're typically an online program. That's the way we're able to bring 200 people together on a monthly basis. It fits into the cadence of your life. You're able to do this from the convenience of your home or your office. But there's something to be said about being able to connect with people in person. And so that's one of the things that we love to do is every year in April, we bring together our current cohort and our alumni to connect, to reconnect, to really solidify the relationships that people have built online. And I think one of the things that's so beautiful about the General Assembly is it doesn't feel like people are meeting for the first time. It feels like a reunion because you've built these relationships over the course of 12 months. You've been connecting with people on a monthly basis, on a weekly basis for most people, and then you see them in person for the first time. And so it's this beautiful energy that you really don't get in any other conference environment. So we don't even call it a conference, it's a General Assembly. And we have over 200 people coming together.
What's the difference between a General Assembly and...
I think the General Assembly, so to me, when I think of a conference, I think of you come and you just listen to people talk, right? You show up and it's a passive learning experience. For me, when I think about a General Assembly, it's more of an active learning experience where you come in and you know that you are going to have to participate, right? You are going to be engaged. This is not just, it's not just like looking at your phone while you listen to the keynote. People are going to be there doing stuff.
I've been to conferences and that.
But the difference between the two?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the official difference or that's my difference. So thank you for going along with it. I think it's because the UN does a General Assembly, and that's when like all of their delegates come together. So I think that's where we got that idea from, is that it's this collaborative workspace. And so we spent almost an entire year planning. And as we think about it, it's always this idea of how can we optimize for the in-person experience? So we know we can do things online really well. We can do everything online. We can do pricing workshops online. We can do networking online. But if we're going to bring people together in person, there has to be something unique about it. And so every single session is designed to really take advantage of that in-person interaction. We have keynotes like Victorine, who's going to be sharing her story.
Yes, guys, watch out for my keynote.
Yes. You're getting a little preview here of some of the snippets, but you'll hear the entire thing on Wednesday night.
He's doing again.
I voluntold her.
You know what I found? Okay, last year's keynote speaker, for example, like she's in an industry where I am, and I still follow her. So
Wow.
having that keynote speaker speak at the event and listening to she's inspired. She was an inspiration to me.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, I need to follow this person and see what they're about, and maybe they can connect me to
she's
so
in the same industry.
Yeah, you're going to be an inspiration to many women.
Oh, wow.
Very much.
For sure.
Those that don't know,
I'm stressing about it.
I've read the speech. It's perfect. It's going to be wonderful.
I've been working on this speech ever since she told me, and it's funny because she said that we are kind of like it's exactly it, because what was it, December or January?
No, it was a long time. So
Before.
I will tell you, so this is our first time in West Africa for a General Assembly. We've done a few in East Africa, we've done some in Southern Africa, we've done North Africa. This is the first time in West Africa. We were supposed to do one in Nigeria in 2020 in March. You all know how that played out. So that was canceled at the very last minute. But it feels really fitting because I think Accra's the perfect place to have the first West African one. And you were in my head as we were thinking of the location, because whenever we think about a location, we think about, okay, who are the people that we want to involve? And I always want to make sure that we have a mix of local representation and then Pan-African representation. And so I was like, oh, if I do it in Ghana, Victorine can be my keynote. So I would say that this idea was in my head before I approached you about it, but I knew you would say yes because you knew. So you're kind of the reason why we're here.
Oh my God. So I was like, okay. I mean, I've done speeches before, but this is a special because it's AWEC, and I know so many people in the room. People I haven't seen in years, like Carolina.
Your mentor, your original mentor, who's coming from Singapore.
She's gonna be here. I'm so excited to see her. Ever since we've been in contacts, ever since, and so I'm looking forward to that. But it's adding more pressure too.
I think it's harder to give a speech when you know people. When the room is unfamiliar, you're just up there. It doesn't matter, but we'll make eye contact, we'll smile, you'll be good.
I'll definitely call you.
One of the things I think that's so amazing though is like this is Ruth's first time in Ghana. And so the General Assembly brings people to different places across the continent that they might not have had the opportunity to go to otherwise. It gives them a reason to do it. And for some people, one of our alums, Joycey, when we went to Kenya, ended up opening a branch of her spa in Nairobi after, being based in Nigeria. And so I think there's all these beautiful business connections that come out of it when people get a chance to experience another place, but experience it in a local way, right? Because you're not coming here by yourself, right? You're coming here with this whole network of people.
Like coming to the GA, to the General Assembly.
Normally it's like one, or it's myself and someone.
There's always one or two Namibians in the cohort. It's a much lesser represented. I feel like everybody from Ghana and Kenya and Nigeria can appreciate that because they're always one of many, whereas Ruth is used to being the Namibian representation.
Like, here there were people from Zimbabwe. They brought their flags, and I'm like, Sadek. So now I'm like, okay, next year I'm bringing my flag, even if I'm alone.
It's just what you need. You have your flag you can represent. That's all.
Yes,
you don't need more than that.
Exactly.
So how many people are we expecting?
We're expecting 200. So we actually cap attendance at the event because I feel like there's a perfect mix of how many you can have to make it enough to have a good crowd, but not so many that you can't actually interact with people. And so we want to make sure that you can go to small group discussions, that you can go to individual workshops and really feel like you're getting to know people versus if we had 500 or 1,000 people in the room, it's just too difficult to really be able to make those authentic
and
connections.
to control the group, like it's too many.
I know.
Especially that we have planned activities, the workshops, and just to coordinate that, it makes it very easy. I like that.
How long is it? Like, what is it? What does it look like every day? What are the activities?
Yeah, so it's amazing because we've evolved so much over the years. And so I think now we have a really good structure in place and we do a lot alongside the AAB. So it's this mix of the team planning it, but also the alumni board helping to plan it because we want to make sure that people see this as a way of staying involved. And so when they come and they meet people from other cohorts, they start to realize that AWEC is more than just their program year. So we start with what we used to call it graduation. Now we call it the alumni induction ceremony because it's less about finishing something and it's more about the transition from being in the cohort to being an alum. So the AAB is actually going to lead the induction ceremony after your speech on Wednesday night. Yes, I feel like I have like the two lead presenters with me right now. I'm in the presence of royalty. And then on Thursday and Friday, we do two packed days. So it's back-to-back activities. This year's theme is about the ripple effect of paying it forward. And so what I love about this theme is it really gives people a chance to think about how they're giving back and not just in this charitable way, but in a way that grows their business. And I think you gave such a beautiful example of that where, you were delivering a workshop and all of a sudden you get a business connection out of it and now you have a new product line, right? That was not the intention whatsoever. And so I think for people to really understand that by doing good, it's good for your business. And there are so many different things that you can do for that, whether it's the way that you partner, whether it's the way that you support your employees, whether it's the way that you're working with government. And so we want people to really think about that and then make a commitment to take action on that. Our goal is to impact more than just the 200 women that go through the cohort each year. We're actually working to impact 10,000 women through trainings that our alumni are running over the course of the calendar year 2025. And so we can do more than that if everyone is part of it.
If everyone is more involved, right? Yeah, that's can't wait for Wednesday. So how do people who don't know about AWEC, right?
Yes.
How do they find out about AWEC? Where, how can they follow the conference? Is it gonna be, not can I say
live stream
or broadcasted?
I would say it's going to be like asynchronous following. So it's a closed event because it's really focused on those relationships in the community. And I think it's something we've debated on and off about, do we do more and put more out there? But I think there's something really special about the sisterhood that gets built through the AWEC program. And so for that reason, it's a private event. That being said, we have an amazing social media team and we have an amazing group of alums who also share things on social media. And so I would recommend following @WeAreAWEC on every single social media platform because we'll be sharing recaps of all of the different sessions. We're doing a live podcast at the General Assembly. So we'll have different episodes that we release. And then we have a newsletter that we put out every single month. And I think what's really nice about that and our social media is that we don't just talk about AWEC, we talk about women entrepreneurs. So we have some people that are incredibly successful that when they come into the program that are looking to either build their network or build a specific part of their business. We have people who are really struggling with their business and want to use this as an opportunity to kind of refresh and reset. And so you get to interact with people at all stages. And I think that's a really wonderful opportunity because maybe you're really down on your business right now and you get to connect with somebody who's in a really good place and that positivity wears off on you. Or you feel really down and then all of a sudden you realize, actually, I'm like 10 steps ahead of most people. Like I'm actually doing a really great job. And so it's really more about what you want to do and whether or not you're willing to put the time and energy in to make it happen. And so all of our questions on the application are really focused on what are your goals and what are you trying to achieve and what is unique about your business to really understand, is this something that you're deeply committed to?
Okay. And any industry, right?
Any industry, any country on the continent, and the diaspora, as long as your business impacts the continent.
Yes. It's mainly African women, like on the continent, but also from the diaspora.
Yes.
You can be an African living in London, like Daphne that I also met. I was part of the
feature, right?
the report, the annual report.
Yes.
Yeah, the annual report. I was in there, and so she saw it. She was like, "Oh, this girl, okay," and she contacted me on LinkedIn. I don't know her from nowhere, but then through AWEC, we were able to. I was talking to a sister, like
it's what I told you. The environment, they make it so conducive for us to form this relationship.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
We've never seen each other. It's just online. And we decided to work together.
Wow.
So she started a business that is based in the UK. And she's like doing B2B like for corporations. So she buy like from companies like ours and then do corporate gifting.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, to big companies like banks, like Standard Chartered, those big corporations in the UK and across Europe. And so that's how we started talking, and that was like, I think we did everything in less than 3 months. We signed, we did the agreement, we signed, and that was it.
And that wasn't the business that she had when she went through the AWEC program. So she had a different business, realized she wanted to do something different, and started Mykono now.
Wow. That's how it happened. I thought even she started it when she applied for AWEC.
Yeah, she did the change.
No, that does happen. You get in and then you realize,
inspired.
You get inspired. Yeah.
That I actually can do it.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that's been...
And that you're really good at, and that business might even do better than what you had before, what you closed down.
And it's been a huge learning curve for us to understand what success looks like as a program, because it's not about everybody continuing to run the same business, right? And it's not necessarily about everyone growing their number of employees. Some people find success because they realize, oh, I actually need to shut down this branch of this part of my business, and I maybe need to reduce the number of employees that I have, or I need to reduce the number of product lines that I have to focus more. And so I think we spent a lot of time trying to understand different ways to quantify the success and the impact, because starting a new business and getting rid of your old one might be a more effective approach than continuing something that's not working.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. So I do need to say, I feel like we've given all these really good examples, and everybody probably is sitting here thinking that Victorine is like the only person that I invite to do anything. But we put out a newsletter every single month. We have 10 to 15 presenters at every event that we do, and we love to involve our alumni in every way possible. And so Victorine is like a shining example, but we have so many different alums that are involved in so many different ways. I think even in this event, that we're doing this week, we have 15 different alums that have different speaking roles and leading workshops, helping to facilitate all different pieces, serving as mentors. And so there are so many different ways that people choose to be involved. You just get to choose to do all of them because I asked you to.
I was to say, we have, with the business support program that we have as part of the AAB initiatives, where we pair mentors and mentees, and sometimes we have like an expert that's facilitating a group session, breakout rooms where they facilitate
all of that in the
within the that's with the AAB.
And they all do this as volunteers. So we have this amazing group of 12 alums who
for it. She's just she wants to mentor. She wants to help out.
Yeah, and we've had people that participated in the program that were, say, mentors, and said, look, I volunteered to be a mentor, and I got my first paid client from the alumni network.
See?
Yes. So they did the whole mentorship, and then when the program ended, she's like, I need to keep using your service.
This is what I love about, like AWEC. So you enter the program and you don't know what is going to come out after it. But the idea is just because you are willing to learn. And you see how amazing, great things come out of that. Like it's selfless.
Yes.
The best things in life come out of that, not because it's like interested, like you are thinking, you are calculating things. That's why I always I want to be far away from those people who calculate any move. You know, there's no realness. It's not genuine.
Yes.
You know, you are there because this person can bring this to me. You know, there are a lot of people like that.
Exactly.
And so I love to see that. That's also the human part. It's not just a program to create a program. It's genuine. It's genuine connections and genuine. You know?
Yeah, and we do get that even as part of the alumni network. There are fellows that have completed and then they come over, but they're just not interested anymore. So we don't force them to say, come back. But then we focus on those who are really willing to give.
It has to be organic, natural, right?
Organic.
Yeah.
And it works out perfect because we've got a lot of great women that volunteer to do amazing things, to host, to facilitate sessions. Just last month we had a session on YouTube, like how to monetize YouTube, how to create a YouTube channel.
And who's doing the YouTube?
It's an expert. We'll always find someone that's really doing good. We'll ask throughout the network and say, is somebody really good at? First, we'll ask, okay, what would you like to learn? You know, on social media. Do you want to do one on X or Twitter? Do you want to do on YouTube, Facebook? And they would vote and said, okay, we want this, and then we'll go with the majority vote and find someone that knows that was doing very well.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's
and
a
then
really
we
democratic
do a
approach
demo.
to try to meet people where they're at.
Yes, and not just say we're gonna give you this. You know, we want them to also have a choice in what they want to learn. Yes.
And I mean, AWEC was iterative in that way too, right? Because when we first had, we had our first cohort, and then all of a sudden you all were alums, and it was like, okay, now what, right? And so we were like, we run a 12-month program. Let's do alumni content. But that's not necessarily what people are looking for, right? When you commit to a program, you're there for a period of time, and then once it's over, you're not looking for the same thing. And so then we shifted course and did something different. And I think now we're at a really good place, thanks to Ruth's leadership with the AAB, around this kind of autonomous group where the alums seek out feedback from what people are looking for, and then they create those opportunities, and people find the things that they're interested in. And so some people come to sessions, some people mentor, some people are featured in publications, some people speak. There's just so many different ways that people can give back in the way that works for them.
Yeah. That's why I like the topic of this General Assembly, right? Like how to pay it forward.
Yeah. The ripple effects.
Yeah, the ripple effects. Yeah, because you do it because it's selfless, paying it forward. But then what is the ripple? There's always a ripple effect, either on you, on your community, or your business. So I think it's great. It's great.
I'm excited. And I will say, we always like to lean into the theme. I can never pass up a good theme party. And so we may or may not have a little ripple-themed party favor. What do you think a good ripple-themed party favor would be? What do you think we're going to give out?
What's the dress code?
It's a ripple you're going to we're giving out?
No, I'll be giving out.
What creates ripples? When you throw them?
Bad at,
a rock, a pebble.
Oh my God.
Just wait. You have...
Are you gonna throw it in?
We brought 200 AWEC themed pebbles from the US.
I'm sure that was your idea.
I do like to push on this, but I have a wonderful team who embraces the creativity and leans into it. Last year, our theme was collaboration, and our last activity, we made friendship bracelets, which I know sounds really cheesy, but the idea was that each industry had a different color. And so you had beads for the color industry you were in. And then you had to go talk to people in different industries and trade beads when you talked to somebody. So then by the time you were done the exercise, you had this bracelet that represented all of these different connections that you made. But the goal behind that was that a lot of people find networking to be incredibly uncomfortable, right? If I put you in an open room and I say, go talk to people, what do you talk about? How do you start?
Or who do you go to? Because like there are so many people in the room. Where do I go?
Yeah. And so we like to create these really structured networking activities, which might feel silly, but the goal behind it is that you bond over the silliness with people, right? And so if I make you do the most ridiculous thing, you're going to roll your eyes and you're going to be like, what is Dawn talking about? Yeah. But you're going to laugh about it with the person next to you, which gives you this instant connection. And so if I'm sending you around to make bracelets, right? And you're, a 50-year-old woman and you're like, a friendship bracelet.
Yeah,
what are you talking about, right? But you get into it and you start to connect with people in that way. And even if you're the most shy person in the room, you're following a task. You're doing the thing that you're told to do. And so it's less uncomfortable than if I was just like, go talk to 3 people because you don't even know where to start. So we have another version of that. I'm not going to spoil the surprise for you guys, but we're doing another version of that. Not friendship bracelets this time, but another equally silly thing where people are going to say, what are you doing? Why are you making us do this?
As usual, we're here to support you on that. The AAB, I know we had 2 of our AAB board members that led that
Yes.
session. Like
Oh,
they're
okay.
so amazing. Yeah,
They bring
the
the
women on the
energy.
board are
Yeah, I'm sure.
amazing. Yes,
I'm
they
sure.
bring all the energy, and they're just as altruistic as
Yeah.
we were just talking about. And it's really, really an
interesting.
honor to serve with them on the board.
Yeah, she mentioned something I totally forgot to talk about, the age. We talked about the criteria. You
Yes.
didn't mention age.
Totally
So
diverse.
yeah. Okay. So
So
from 15, no.
I would say
30.
I would say 18 is usually the youngest.
What's your youngest?
I think 18 is probably the youngest we've had. We don't ask people their age. We're age agnostic. The only way I've ever found out is because when people travel, we see their passports. So I'm often surprised at people's ages. I'm terrible at guessing ages. I think that the sweet spot for a lot of people is like 20s to 30s, just in terms of when people are in that phase of like they've started a business, they know what they need to do, they want to upscale. But we have had people up to grandmothers. I mean, I would say I think 70s and 80s we've had people. And we've had people who they're like the grandmother and their daughter, or like the daughter and their mother, both like not at the same time, but like, you know, did the program, referred somebody else in their family to do it. And so I think, you know, there's what is so nice about that is the workplace is diverse, right? And you might think, oh, I know how to work with everyone, but working with Gen Z is very, very different than working with millennials, than working with boomers, right? And so this understanding of being able to connect the challenges that you face collaborating with women in the AWEC program prepare you for the challenges that you'll face collaborating with people in the workplace, right? Because you have that in, you know, the workplace where you talk to somebody about social media and maybe they've never used that platform before. You know, you're talking to somebody in their 60s and they're like, TikTok, what do you, although I feel like people in their 60s probably have more time and energy to use on social media than us millennials, right?
I think they are on it to spy on the gender.
I think there's more like 60-year-old TikTok
there to
dancers
connect.
than millennials.
My parents, they are on it to spy. I had to
they're
block
to
them.
connect.
Had to block them. No.
Really?
What are these people doing in there? You know, what are they? What is the thing about showing everything about your life? You travel, you need to show us the airplane. You know, like what's that? You are eating. We need to know what you are eating. You don't understand it. So
It's the late adopters, right? It's that same thing. It's like they didn't get on early, and so now they're like, oh, this sounds really fun. Let's go all out.
they're all on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Snapchat. I'm like, wow, what are you guys doing?
So I think there's a lot of that like intergenerational learning in addition to like cross gender or cross culture and cross continent, because I think being able to learn how people do things at different ages is really important and helpful.
And in different countries, like how they do things, how they navigate challenges, and
You know?
it's amazing. I think I learned. Say, I was with a Zimbabwe group. I think it was in Nairobi when we had that. So since I was alone, I joined their group, and they discussed the challenges that they face, and I'm like, these people have real problems.
Like you could,
Wow, like real life problems.
You picked a tough country challenge.
And
to
how do
face.
you and they persevered, like, you know, how they navigate
especially
through.
Zimbabwe is
Yes.
too like.
And I'm like,
constant
wow, I
inflation
have
issues.
so much respect for
Yeah,
businesswomen that have got
absolutely.
businesses based in countries, you know, where
that are not easy.
Yes,
I mean,
very
that are
challenging.
harder than others.
Yeah, I mean, Ghana went through a period of like major inflation challenges, and like think about the benefit. Yes, right. And think about the benefit of being able to say, "Oh my gosh, look what we're going through." I have a sister in Zimbabwe, and they go through this constantly. Let me hear how she's tackling this, right? Because I think they've had to figure out workarounds before you did, because it wasn't a constant problem here.
Like last year was like so interesting for us because our revenue, you know, increased tremendously, but because of inflation,
Yes.
like the cost of operation just like I can't even tell you, quadruple, quintuple, like every month was different. And you can't, as a business owner, you can't increase, for instance, the price of your product just like that.
Especially because every consumer is facing inflation issues too.
The same issue.
So it was like it was tough. It was tough, you know, although we made more money, but then we also spent more money.
Exactly.
You know.
But you found a way. You found a way to navigate through it.
Thanks
Yes.
to the fact that we are in different countries and that we can compensate. If Ghana is having this issue, you know, another country will compensate. But if it was just Ghana, I think we'd be in trouble. Yeah, but thank God it was just like a moment. It's getting better. We are going back to normally, to the normal. Yeah.
the new normal.
I know. Yeah, okay, I've always wanted to ask Dawn this. Like,
No, live. Ask. I'm an open book.
Yeah, so being like the MD of AWEC and like, how is that fulfilled you like as a person? Like how, just tell us
How did you land this job?
That's a very good question. So it's interesting because I feel like my background very much like led me to this point, but I would have never predicted it. Like if you asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up, I actually don't know if I had an answer to that, but I worked in education for a long time. I was the COO of a school, so I did the business side of education. But I got really interested in the experiential learning piece, and that was like a big piece of the design of the school that I worked at. And so it really infiltrated everything that we did. And so it was just this mindset that I think was really different, and honestly different than the education that I had received. And so I think that was like a really big turning point for me. I'm also an entrepreneur. I had a food business for a while. So I had that experience of like the struggle and not having a community of other entrepreneurs that were doing the same thing and people that couldn't understand what it was like. And I was running my business while I was working. So I would work during the day and then I'd go to this communal kitchen at night and bake all night and then, package in the morning and then go to work, right afterwards. And so I think this idea of like, what would it have been nice to have? And then I did my MBA, and I did my MBA in a program where I was working during the day and took classes at night, and I absolutely loved the experience. I think for me, this ability to like immediately apply my learning came into practice, and so AWEC came at a time, it was just one of these like perfect moments, right? I had gotten involved with the organization that started AWEC, the Center for Global Enterprise, as an MBA student. I did an internship with them, and I consulted with a startup in Tanzania. Loved the experience. I was doing a conference where I presented on their behalf, and they had just found out that they got funding to start this new program for women. And so they knew it was going to be called the African Women Entrepreneurship Cooperative. They knew it was going to be this 12-month business program. And that was all it was at that point. And so I was like, oh, that would be great. I'd love to be involved, thinking that I would volunteer, right? I was like, oh, well, I can mentor, I can help, right? This is
really involved.
This is the thing of saying yes, right? Like, and that's why I encourage other people to do the same thing, because I had no idea what that would turn into. And so they gave me this great opportunity I was initially I think program director was my first title. And so I got to do a little bit of everything. And I always joke, in our very first year, we booked everybody's travel to come to the General Assembly. It was the worst work experience of my life. We do not do that anymore. I learned the airports of Africa so well. But I think, it was that startup phase of we figured it out as we went with your cohort, and I got to know every single member of cohort 1 so well because we were figuring it out alongside of you and using that feedback. And so I have been doing this for 8 years now. I think 3 years ago, I had the opportunity to become the managing director. And I didn't know if it was the right fit, right? I loved the work that I was doing, but I wasn't sure I was the right person for the role because I love the curriculum design, right? I write a lot of our curriculum. I write a lot of our assignments. I design a lot of the sessions. That piece is where I get really excited. Being the face of something is not my comfort zone. I am a behind the scenes person. I'm an operations person. I like writing the curriculum. I like having one-on-one conversations, but I think it was a really good opportunity to step outside of my comfort zone in a space that's really, really comfortable, right? Because it's this amazing group of people. And so I think being able to see something from beginning until now and see the growth and the impact and then make these amazing friends along the way. I mean, I consider both of you my friends.
We have to meet somehow. It's been amazing and so proud to have you,
I get to be everybody's cheerleaders, right? I mean, I get to cheer for all of these businesses, and everyone's success feels like a little bit of my success, right? Where I see everyone doing these amazing things, and I get to be able to make connections between people that, could have a huge impact on their businesses and their lives. So it's been a really beautiful opportunity.
Inspirational.
And now that you speak of an MBA, I'm currently doing an MBA because I started the business with no business training. I'm a very technical person.
Okay.
And after AWEC, I was like, okay, let me try this.
Business can be fun, right? I think if you're exposed to it in the right way.
And a lot made so much sense, like doing the MBA program.
So this is it.
You're like, that is why I had to do this thing.
The program, okay, I chose a program that's like action learning. It's an action learning
Good.
MBA, so it's experiential, like you
Good.
say, and everything is on my
What's
business.
the MBA about?
It's a Master's Business Administration for Business School Netherlands.
Netherlands,
And I've got a major in food security.
Food security.
Yes,
Oh, okay.
yes, because that's
Okay.
sort of my space.
Yeah, that's
and,
your space.
And a lot of things make sense where I've worked before. I'm like, okay, so this is how the business is structured.
Yeah.
Okay, finances. This is how, like, you don't just spend.
Yeah, it's
spend.
not
You gotta-
random.
Yes,
You have to
planning,
know the
operations, like how
Yeah.
you plan out your operations.
Yeah.
And this is my second year in the program now, and hopefully, I get to complete
that's-
it, and it will be an
You will 100% complete it, Ruth. I don't even know what you're saying about hope. You are such a committed person.
This is the last year then?
Yes, it's supposed to.
years.
Yeah, it's the last year.
Yeah.
I'm heading into my research now to
Okay.
do my research.
But the best part about doing an MBA now is like you know what you want to learn. I think that's the biggest difference about doing it while you're running a business is that instead of learning for the sake of learning, you're learning as a means to an end. You want to do something better, and so you come into it so differently. And I think that's what's so nice
The
about doing
projects are
programs
like
that.
action learning projects, and like I have to identify problems with my team and
Very hands-on.
hands-on.
Yeah, I love that.
So it's a
So you
really,
can apply
really
it
great program.
straight back to your business.
Straight.
Yeah.
The assignments based on the business, and
Yeah.
at the end you also get the theory and the understanding and the practice too, because it's in your
Right.
business. And
So it's online. You do it from Namibia.
yes,
Okay.
they've got it's online. They've also got an in-person program, but ours
Okay.
is 100% online, just
okay.
for us that are working or owning businesses.
Yeah,
Yes, and it's really great, and the network is amazing because we get to connect with different people.
doing similar businesses probably too.
And what I wanted to say was about we did an action learning project on internationalization.
Right.
So since I'm not a multinational, my company is not a multinational, I reached out to one of the alums.
I love that.
So we did an action learning project on her business.
That's so cool.
My team, yes,
Oh,
and
wow.
it was amazing. Like
That's
we solved
nice.
a problem within her business.
That is
So
really
it was great. And it was all based on the collaboration theme from last year's GA. So immediately after the GA, we flew together and we spoke about it. And she said, "We're doing that."
Oh,
That
we
is
did
amazing.
that. Love her energy. I also
Yes.
got to know her when I did. What did I? I did something for AWEC after the masterclass. That was 2 years ago, and that was also online. I don't remember exactly what it was. But that's how I met
treasured
Joycey. She was
everything.
also doing something that day.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, yes,
and,
yeah,
and so
lovely,
we've been
lovely.
following each other on LinkedIn since.
Yeah.
And I can testify to that energy. Yeah.
But so what I love is you did AWEC and then you did another learning thing afterwards. You have also done more learning opportunities after AWEC. And I think it speaks to both of your like commitment to kind of continue, right? It's not like you get a certain amount of knowledge and you
there's no,
stop.
I've
It's
made
that
it. That's-
you learn different
that's the
things in
end.
different places.
You continue learning.
It's lifelong
Yeah,
learning.
exactly.
You keep learning.
Exactly.
And everything you do prepares you for the next thing in some way, right? Where, maybe you applied for something that you didn't get into, and then maybe you do a program like AWEC, and then you go back and apply for the other program again, and then you get in the next time around. Or you didn't think about an MBA before, and then you were around a lot of people, and you were like, the business thing's kind of interesting.
I never even wanted to go there. I was like, it's a waste of time. Why would I go business school, spend all that time? And it's probably because of the what we were talking about, where to apply it. I've seen, friends and colleagues that went to do it, and they just came back to their jobs.
Yeah.
They didn't apply anything. It was based
That
on
they
case studies,
learned.
and I'm like, so apply that knowledge somewhere.
Yeah.
So if I do it, it has to be relevant, because I've always been a practical person, and anything I do has to mean something. It has to be
Yeah.
applied, not just to sit.
Otherwise,
for me
yeah.
to have
What's
that
the
on my
point?
wall, MBA Ruth.
Yeah,
no.
just to talk about it on LinkedIn, but that's
Yes,
about it,
yes.
It's kind of sad.
That's what I hope AWEC can be. Like, if I think about like what I want AWEC's like lasting impact to be, obviously business growth, but I think also opening people up to the importance of the experiential and action-based learning, because I think it totally changes the way you absorb and utilize information. And I think for a lot of people, it's the first time that they're exposed to something like that, where you have to really play an active part in what you're doing. You're not just listening and then repeating back what you learned, but you're reflecting on it, you're applying it, you're kind of massaging it to work for your business and your certain situation. And so I think that's our goal, especially as we, grow our impact, is to have more people be able to be exposed to it.
My critical thinking skills and problem solving enhanced after the AWEC program. So I'd look at something and they're like, okay, but why are we doing it? And like, how do you think like that? I was like, AWEC. It probably was there, but AWEC enhanced it.
We ask a lot of questions.
I know. I remember I was seeing these cases. I'm like, what? Like, who thought of these things?
It's a beautiful design. The way it was designed was really, really beneficial to everyone.
Top notch.
We have an amazing, amazing team. And I think that's one of the things that's so nice. I mean, most of our team has been involved with AWEC in some capacity since the beginning, or was recruited by somebody else who was involved. We've had alumni that have come back and worked for the team. And so it's this mix of people with different experiences, some people that have their MBAs, some people that are entrepreneurs, some people that have worked in a more formal consulting side. And so you bring all the pieces together.
That's how you get the best. We can talk about this for hours, but I wanted people to also not forget, look out for AWEC this week specifically. Be on your phone, check out all social media platforms. So TikTok, are you guys on TikTok?
Are we on TikTok?
Not yet.
Okay.
Next, coming soon. We have a small team.
Instagram,
LinkedIn, X.
LinkedIn. Yeah, 4 main ones. We are AWEC, and the website as well, which is
we are AWEC.
We are AWEC.com. And General Assembly starts on Wednesday for 2 days, so up to Friday.
Wednesday through Friday.
Exactly. And so, I was super honored to have you guys.
Thanks. Honored to be here with you.
It was really nice.
Thank you for making the time, and I hope you enjoyed it. And I hope you guys also have taken some nuggets of these brilliant women who are doing amazing things all over the world, I should say. And so, stay tuned. We'll be back.